This is James Harden, a 30-year-old 6'5" guard for the Houston Rockets, and when it comes to accolades, he doesn't lack a lot as he has 6 All-NBA selections, is an 8-time All-Star, a 2-time scoring champ, 1-time assist leader. He has won the 6th Man of the Year award, he has also won the MVP, and is a 2-time gold medalist. But with all that being said, there is still this one thing that James Harden so desperately wants, arguably the most important accolade of them all. An NBA championship ring. Now, some people may ask themselves why James Harden hasn't won a championship yet, because for someone so accomplished and skilled, it's hard to understand. I mean, the dude was about to lead the league in scoring for the 3rd straight season. There isn't one specific answer to that question. Some blame it on the fact that he ran into the Warriors 4 out of his last 5 playoff runs, some blame it on him choking, and some blame it on his playstyle. Either way, if Harden really wants to cement his legacy as an all-time great, if he really wants to be considered as a top 3 or 4 shooting guard in the history of the NBA, then he needs to get a championship. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video we'll break down why James Harden has failed to win an NBA championship with the Houston Rockets. If you like the video and just enjoy the content I create in general, then do well to hit the thumbs up, check out my other videos, and also subscribe while you're at it. And you might as well just go and share this video with people that you might think are interested, because they ain't got anything else to do as of right now. Let's be real. So like I was saying, there are 3 main theories or arguments as to why James Harden has failed to win an NBA title. Them being 1, the choking, number 2, the system, and number 3, the Warriors. So let's look at the first theory. Before I even start with the breakdown, let me just say that Harden's reputation as a choker is blown way out of proportion, as most people just go with what the media and NBA Twitter is saying instead of actually looking at how Harden performed. So in 2015, Harden went up against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and in this series, he didn't choke. Harden managed to get this team to the conference finals, where they faced the Warriors, who flat out outmatched them. You had Steph, Clay, Dre, Barnes, Bogut, with Iggy and Livingston coming off the bench, versus James Harden, Dwight Howard, Trevor Ariza, Jason Terry, and Josh Smith, with Corey Brewer and Terrence Jones coming off the bench. This isn't gonna cut it. Nobody was really expecting the Rockets to actually win that series. And if we look at 2016, it's more or less the same thing. This time around, the Warriors were obviously better because they won 73-9, Steph had his unanimous MVP season, and the Rockets were a worse team. This time around, they were the 8th seed. So in this series, nobody actually expected him to also win that. So yeah, he didn't choke. Now, if we look at the 2017 series against the Spurs, things are a bit different. In game 1, he played well, he dropped 20 points on solid efficiency, they won the game, cool. In game 2, however, he underperformed. He had 13 points on 3 for 17 from the field. That's not what you expect from your superstar. In game 3, he made up for his abysmal performance in game 2 by dropping 43 points on very good efficiency, but they still lost. So at this point, they're down 2-1. And then in game 4, he had a great performance. He had 28 points on very good efficiency, and they won the game. But game 5 is probably the game that hurt him the most. He had 33 points on okay efficiency, nothing to complain about, but the man had 9 turnovers. He had 9 turnovers. And to make things worse, they only lost by 3 points. They lost by 1 possession. If Harden had had not 9 turnovers, but I don't know, something like 5 or 6, they would have probably won that game, giving them a 3-2 lead in the series. And then in game 6, the closeout game, he disappeared. He only scored 10 points, for some reason only took 11 and made 2 of the shots, and even fouled out of the game. When his team needed him most, he vanished. The Rockets could have very well won that series if they had won game 5. Had they won game 5, they were going to go up 3-2 and not face elimination on the road, but rather at home, because that series the Rockets had home court advantage. Either way, it's safe to say that this was by far James Harden's worst playoff series in the last 5 years, and you can say that he actually choked in this one. But even if he didn't choke and, let's say they actually beat the Spurs and go on to face the Warriors in Western Conference Finals, there's no way that they are going to win that series because the Warriors are one of the best teams of all times. So, technically speaking, Harden's choking didn't cost him a championship, but rather a series. Now, moving on to 2018, he didn't choke. He just happened to go up against the Warriors. They're pretty much, the same Warriors as in 2017, so if he couldn't beat them in 2017, he also shouldn't be able to beat them in 2018. However, he pushed them to 7 games. He did in fact push them to 7 games, and I know that people out there that say that he would have won had CP3 not get injured, but no, I don't believe that. I just think that, regardless of what happens, Warriors are going to win that series and that's it. But Harden didn't choke on that one, he didn't. In 2019 though, it's a bit iffy. I would have wanted Harden and the Rockets to push the series to 7 games because when KD got injured, the general consensus was that this series will now go to 7. Nobody thought that the Warriors could close out the series in Houston 1 game after losing KD. But generally speaking, Harden didn't really choke in those games. The Warriors team just stepped up in general. So apart from 2017, against the Spurs, there hasn't been one playoff series in the last 5 years that James Harden choked in. So that debunks theory number 1. Now, moving on to theory number 2, is his playstyle to blame for the losses? I'd say yes, but if we're being honest, it's not James Harden's fault because he is playing to the best of his abilities, trying to get his team some wins. People hate on him for playing so much iso ball and getting to the free throw line so much, but that's something I genuinely don't understand. Sure, it's boring to watch and just not fun in general, but James Harden can only do so much as a player. People blame him for playing so much ISO, but tell me, who is the one drawing up the plays? Isn't that the coach? So if Mike D'Antoni thinks that the Rockets have a better chance at winning when Harden has a 39% usage rate and basically only plays ISO, then Harden can't really do much. I don't think that if D'Antoni decided to run a ball movement heavy system, Harden wouldn't accept. He either buys in or gets the front office to get a new coach. And speaking of front office, it's the front office that decides which players they put around Harden. I don't know if they get players that fit Mike D'Antoni's system or if Mike D'Antoni adjusts the system according to the players the front office get. But either way, the front office and coaching staff have a huge say when it comes to the team's roster. I'm not saying that James Harden doesn't have a say, but he isn't the GM. And people getting mad at Harden for getting a ton of free throws is also a bit stupid because it's not like he's cheating the game. James Harden is a master at manipulating the defense and setting fouls, and he does that all within the rules. So if you want to be mad at anything, you should be mad at the NBA and their rules because they're the ones that allow James Harden to play the way he does. He's not breaking any rules. Like, I get it, it's frustrating and it sucks to see a player like draw 20 free throws a game and just pounding the ball and all that stuff, but that's not Harden's fault. He's just going out there trying to get his team some wins the best way he possibly can. And if D'Antoni says we're running an ISO system, then he's gonna run an ISO system. There's nothing he can actually really do apart from maybe getting D'Antoni fired as a coach. But coming back to the question, I'd say the playstyle is to blame because if you look at the championships won in the last decade, you'll notice that they were won on systems that had multiple superstars or great ball movement, and the Rockets have had neither. But like I said right now, James Harden shouldn't be the only one that gets blamed for how the Rockets system operates. So moving on to theory number 3, is it the Warriors' fault? Well, James Harden and the Rockets have faced the Warriors 4 times in the last 5 years and were obviously always eliminated by them. The first time this happened was in 2015, and like I already mentioned, the Warriors were just a better team. Then we moved to 2016, where things could have turned out a bit different, but not really at the same time. On paper, you had the 73-9 Warriors going up against a Rockets team that hadn't changed a lot from the previous year. They made some small additions like Patrick Beverley and Michael Beasley, but nothing game changing. However, Curry only played 20 minutes in game 1 before getting injured. After that, he didn't return until game 4, where he only played 19 minutes before getting injured again. So could James Harden have won that series? Hell no. But could he have won more than one game? Absolutely. But today it's about if he could have beaten the Warriors, and in this series, no, he couldn't have. Moving on to 2018, like I've already said, people are saying that had CP3 stayed healthy, the Rockets would have beaten the Warriors, but I'm not one of them. I strongly believe that either way, the Warriors advance because they're just that good on paper. Like, if we were saying that the 2017 Warriors were like one of the best teams of all time, that means the 2018 Warriors are also one of the best teams of all time. Like, they're a dynasty for a reason, and the roster change from 2017 to 2018 was so minimal, you wouldn't even be able to tell that they changed rosters at all. So it's unfair to say that James Harden should have beaten the Warriors and hold that against him. 2019 is probably the best year James Harden and the Rockets had at beating the Warriors, because last season they had the worst bench in their run and they lost KD early in game 5. James Harden and CP3 could have very well beaten the Warriors, because the moment KD went down, people all over the internet and mainstream media were saying that this is their chance to strike. You now have a healthy CP3 and a healthy team in general going up a team that had just lost KD midway through the series. We at least expected you to win game 6 and push the series to 7. And after game 5, people were on Harden for being like too passive, and Thinking Basketball made a video on that, breaking down that Harden did in fact make the right plays every time instead of forcing something. I get that. You're supposed to make the right plays, but as a superstar, you also expect you to do superstar things. And those aren't always the so-called right plays. There are right plays in general, and there are superstar plays. Plays that define your legacy. There comes a point in time where people are looking at you as a superstar of the team, expecting you to take them to the promised land. It's those moments that we need a superstar to take over the game and remind everybody why he is a superstar. And honestly speaking, James Harden didn't do that in the 4th quarter of game 5 in that series. He made the right plays, so you can't fault him, but he didn't make the superstar plays, so you also can't celebrate him. Ultimately, I only hold Harden somewhat accountable for one of the 4 times he lost to Warriors, that year being 2019. Every other year, I just don't see him winning the series. So, looking at all 3 theories, it becomes apparent that James Harden has failed to win a chip because of the Golden State Warriors dynasty and the Rocket system. And it's not like he's a playoff choker, because he's only choked 1 time. Even if he hadn't choked, the Warriors still would have beaten him. So you could say that James Harden might be one of the unlucky superstars of all time, because he just happened to get wiped out by a dynasty out of nowhere. So there you have it. Harden fans, Harden haters, and whoever else is watching the video, James Harden is just unlucky. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you all for watching the video through. If you liked it, please do well to hit the thumbs up as well as subscribing to the channel. Share this video with people you think might be interested. Anyways, this was MCG. Peace out.